You know, we've all heard that phrase a million times, innocent until proven guilty. It's like the bedrock of our entire justice system. But have you ever stopped to think about what happens after you're proven innocent? What happens when a court completely clears your name, but the system itself just can't seem to let it go? Okay, let's get into this because it's a really important question. I mean, it seems obvious, right? If you're acquitted, your slate should be wiped clean. You should be able to just walk away and get back to your life. But as we're about to find out, the gap between being legally innocent and having a truly clean record can be a whole lot murkier than you'd think. And this isn't just some hypothetical debate. For a man named Abdul Rehman Faryad, this became a very real nightmare. And his story, his fight, really shines a light on this huge clash between an individual's fundamental rights and the state's, well, permanent digital memory. So our story kicks off right where you'd think it would end, with a verdict of not guilty. But for Mr. Faryad, this was really just the beginning of a whole new kind of battle. So let's meet the man at the center of all this, Abdul Rehman Faryad. He was charged with what sounds like a pretty minor offense, flying a kite, which was against a local law. It might not seem like a big deal, but it was enough to drag him right into the criminal justice system. So the court takes a look at the case, reviews all the evidence, and finds nothing. Zilch. On December 20th, 2024, he was completely acquitted of all charges. And here's the key part. The government didn't appeal. It was over. Final. In the eyes of the law, the case was done and dusted. Or so he thought. With the court case in the rearview mirror, Mr. Faryad did what anyone would do. He tried to move on with his life. But he was about to discover that even when you're proven innocent, the accusation can leave a stain that's really hard to remove. And here's where it all went sideways. He needed to get a police character certificate so he could travel to the UK. Simple enough, right? Well, imagine his shock when the certificate comes back and, bam, right there it lists the old police report from the kite flying case. Even though he was found innocent, his official record made it look like he was a criminal. What came next was an absolute bureaucratic nightmare. I mean, for 6 months, he was just stuck in this maze. He sent official requests to get it fixed and was totally ignored. He had to go to court just to get the government to even respond to him. A judge set a deadline for them to sort it out. They missed it. And then, finally, after all that fighting, the official answer comes back, request denied. Unbelievable. An innocent man was now being forced to go back to court to prove his innocence all over again. So what was the deal? Why was the government digging in its heels on this? Well, this gets right to the heart of the matter. A huge disagreement over what a record even is and what innocence really truly means. So you've got these two totally opposite points of view, right? On one side, you have Mr. Faryad, and his logic is simple. Hey, the court said I'm innocent. My official documents have to reflect that, period. But on the other side, you've got the state, the government, basically saying, well, our computer says no. They argued their digital system was permanent, and all they could do was update his status to acquitted. They couldn't actually erase the charge. And their whole excuse really boiled down to a few points. They said their digital record system, the PSRMS, was designed to be permanent. They pointed to a rule that said police reports have to be kept for 60 years. So their conclusion was, look, once a name is in the system, our rules say we can't delete it. The best we can do is add a little note that says, acquitted. Sorry, our hands are tied. But then the High Court gets involved. And the judge, he was not having it. He didn't see this as some minor technical issue about a database. He saw it for what it was, a fundamental issue of justice, fairness, and basic human dignity. The judge basically took everyone back to square one, back to the core principle of the presumption of innocence. He argued that an acquittal isn't just checking a box or updating a status. No way. It is the ultimate fulfillment of that presumption. To keep linking Mr. Faryad to that crime, even with a little note, was to fail to give that man's innocence its full and proper meaning. And get this. This is where the ruling becomes incredibly powerful. The judge didn't just call it bad paperwork or a flawed policy. He called it a flat-out violation of a person's constitutionally protected right to human dignity. He said it places a lasting and unjust stigma on someone who has been declared innocent. That's huge. So the judge is essentially asking, what's the whole point? What's the point of going through the judicial process and being found innocent if the system just keeps treating you like a suspect? He said it completely guts the meaning of an acquittal and undermines the entire system of justice. So the court's final order was crystal clear. No wiggle room. First, Mr. Faryad wins. Completely. Second, the government was ordered to issue a brand new corrected certificate. And third, and this is the real kicker, that new certificate had to have zero mention of the old case. None. No footnotes, no asterisks, just a clean record, as if it never even happened. So think about it. This whole thing started over a minor charge for flying a kite, but it ended up creating this massive landmark ruling that has huge implications for every single citizen. Let's really break down what this means. At the end of the day, the court laid down the law on this. When you are acquitted, you are, in the court's own words, entirely absolved. Legally speaking, it's like the allegation was never even made in the first place. And any government action that even hints otherwise is simply unjust. So what are the big takeaways here? What's the bottom line? First, a person's dignity is protected by the Constitution. You can't stigmatize an innocent person. Second, an acquittal is final. It means you're completely exonerated. Third, this sets a brand new, clear precedent. A clean record has to actually be clean. And finally, I think this last point is brilliant. The court made a sharp distinction between the state's internal records and public ones. Sure, the government can keep its own data for statistics or whatever, but it absolutely cannot use that internal memory to publicly harm a citizen who has already been proven innocent. You know, this one case from Pakistan really forces us to think about a much bigger, universal question. In our digital age, where everything feels permanent, how do we strike that balance between the government's need to keep records and a person's right to be truly free after an acquittal? This ruling draws a very clear line in the sand, protecting the innocent from a shadow that should no longer follow them. It's a powerful reminder that justice isn't just about the verdict, but about what comes after.